Yes.
All right, we are live on YouTube and recording now. It looks like we have a second person labeled Corey Savage that doesn't have video on right now. I can rename you if you tell me your name.
Corey.
It's Corey Savage.
It's not. No, sorry, that's Matt. Matt Gordy.
Oh, it's Matt.
I forwarded my link also, so there may be more than one Kristen Craig. I apologize. Now I know that each person's supposed to get their own link, so. Yeah. How would have you guys done this in other meetings? Would it be easiest for me to share my screen so you can see the agenda, or just everyone look at their own and?
No, that would work. Yeah, why don't we do that? Share your screen.
All right, I just have to figure out how to do that.
So if you click share at the bottom, then there should be a second pop-up that comes up, and then you select what window you want to share or your whole screen.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
And I believe Christy emailed this morning she wouldn't be available, correct?
I did see that. Yep, it looks like something came up. I have not heard from anyone else. Maybe we want to just give them a few more minutes.
You have both Ken and Kim are on the call already. Kristen.
Woohoo! I didn't run into traffic coming into work today. That was awesome.
So we're good. We have a quorum.
So,
Okay.
All right, this is Clint Wells. We'd like to call the May 11th, 2020 Tourism Commission to order. Roll call and attendance will be done through, well, via online. You have in front of you the March 9th, 2020 meeting minutes. Do we have any questions or anything regarding those? If not, we're seeking approval of them.
Ritz will make a motion to approve the March 9th meeting minutes.
Jankowski will second them.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to the next agenda item. I'm gonna need to see that, Kristen. Is that?
apologize. Yeah, no, I'll move to the front.
I should have mine up. Okay, new business.
Go.
19 update. That could take a year.
So I believe Darcy will be joining us as well, but we have Chief Krusik from the fire department who will also give an update on this.
This is Darcy, I'm here.
Darcy, great.
I was having some technical difficulty, but I'll just provide a brief update, and then if there's anything specific anyone's interested in, please let me know. So as of this morning, Oak Creek has 104 positive cases among Oak Creek residents. We've also seen 617 Oak Creek residents test negative. 58 of those who have tested positive are considered recovered, which means their symptoms have improved and they've been released from isolation. And we've seen 11 deaths among Oak Creek residents. In Milwaukee County, there's just over 4,000 cases. Over 21,000 individuals have tested negative. They've had 2,182 recovered and 225 deaths. The state has seen over 10,200 cases with 105,000 negative test results. Over 5,000 have been recovered, and the state has experienced 4,000 deaths. So we have started to see an increase in test results coming in, which means more people are getting tested, which is a positive step. We've been waiting for that to happen. And with that increase in testing, we are seeing a large increase in negative test results, which is a good sign. We've seen some ebbs and flows in the numbers of positive cases coming in. We had a pretty slow week last week, but then saw 5 new cases over the weekend. So that's still, we do know that people are still unfortunately spreading disease in the community. We've been working hard with quite a few of our Oak Creek community partners, including the schools and healthcare systems, businesses, childcares, long-term care facilities, on a variety of topics. Some of them we've been working to kind of prevent any disease from entering the facility or the business. Others, if they are experiencing some sick employees or residents, we're helping them to think about how to prevent the spread of disease. And we're also having conversations around helping these facilities and businesses prepare to reopen to the public and how to do that in a way that's safe for their employees and the public and everyone feels comfortable. So the health department has been very busy, but have really appreciated a lot of good collaboration as we've worked through the situation. Are there any specific questions that I can answer?
Yeah, Darcy, I have one. There's a lot of talk about the number of people being tested, and whether they have the virus or not. So if you get tested today and you got a negative test, tomorrow you could have the virus, right?
Right. Unfortunately, that's true, which is the reason that when someone is exposed, they're asked to quarantine for that entire 14-day period, because we know that's the incubation period when someone could get sick. I wish we could test them on day 2 and excuse them from quarantine, but that doesn't mean they won't get sick, in the next week or 10 days.
So
right.
what's the push to have people tested? Because that's just a point in time, right? I mean.
Right, it's true. So there's a couple of reasons we wanted to see more testing happening. One is that we were still hearing from a lot of individuals who were experiencing symptoms that they weren't able to access testing. So we wanted to make sure that everyone who's having symptoms could get tested to really understand the level of disease in the community. But also, as we move towards reopening, we want to know that testing capacity is there, so that if we do start to see more people get sick, we know that they can get tested right away and there won't be any kind of delay in knowing exactly what's happening.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Darcy, just a quick question. This is Doug talking. Does that 104 number include the 58 people who have recovered?
Yes. So the 104 is the total people who have tested positive. 58 of those 104 are recovered.
So if we do the math here, minus the 58 who have recovered, minus the 11 who have died, is that correct? So there'd be like 35, at least according to the statistics, 35 people currently who reside in Oak Creek who have tested positive and are still in the protocol.
Yeah, that sounds right. I didn't actually do those numbers, but yes, that would be the way to do it. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One more question. You didn't mention, do you have hospitalization numbers? How many of the infected went to the hospital?
Yeah, let me just look. I do have that number here. We've seen about 35% of individuals who have tested positive have been hospitalized at some point of their illness.
Okay, thanks.
Are there people also self-quarantining from being exposed to people that have had COVID?
Yes, absolutely. So, right, every time somebody tests positive, then we talk with that person who tested positive to find out who they had contact with during their infectious period. And then we reach out to those individuals, let them know that they have been exposed, and ask them to self-quarantine for a period of 14 days after that last exposure to the infected person. So
you don't know how many people are self-quarantining then from exposure?
Yeah, I don't have that number with me right now.
Can I ask another question? A large part of what we do is driven by doing events in the city. Is there direction from the health department on when it's safe to do that or when we're able to do that and what that looks like?
Yeah, so that's something that we're starting to think a lot about. There's a number of indicators that we'll be watching to determine when it's safe to start having some of those gatherings again. So, the testing capacity that I mentioned is one of them, knowing that people can get tested if they need to. We're also looking at the capacity of hospitals, so that if we were to see another surge in cases, we know that they could address those sick individuals, as well as the personal protective equipment that could help protect the healthcare workers. We're looking at those things, and also the capacity of the public health systems to do the contact tracing that I just mentioned. So I think right now, some of those indicators are starting to move in the right direction. Like I said, we're seeing more testing. We're seeing the hospitals are reporting that they do have capacity to care for individuals. So I think that we'll start to see things start slowly reopening, hopefully soon. I know we all know we're waiting on the decision of the Supreme Court to kind of determine exactly what the next steps are and who has the authority to make those decisions. But certainly we are thinking about that. And we hope that at some point over the summer, we'll start to see some of those gatherings be permitted again.
Okay, thank you.
And I can tell you, this is Clint Wells, from the hotel perspective, obviously, it's been extremely, just like many other businesses, devastating for us. We've been running between 5 and 15% occupancies at a time when we'd normally run 65 to 70%. All groups have canceled throughout June, and many are canceling for July, August, and some even September. All baseball has obviously been canceled, which is a very large part of our business coming forward. But we've experienced obviously a couple of employees that, we run the gamut, and I'm sure many of you other business folks have seen the same thing. I've had a couple employees. I've had one employee that contracted it, and they were in the city of Milwaukee, and then her husband contracted it. We've had a couple other people self-quarantine themselves just because of their exposure to grandparents that they're caring for, things of that nature. But I think that is the hardest part about this entire thing, is that there are no real clear guidelines on when things are opening up, and that has become very difficult. And I know there's no real great formula for that. But yeah, we'll see what the Supreme Court says today. But my question on that is, if the Supreme Court says that the safer at home order needs to stop and the legislature doesn't move it forward today, I've heard of other communities such as Dane County, they're maintaining their declaration of emergency order. And I've heard of Milwaukee County possibly putting something in place along those lines. Do you have any further knowledge on what may happen if this Supreme Court rules that this needs to end today? Will the city of Oak Creek or Milwaukee County put something else in place that will mimic that?
Maybe I can just start off by separating two things. There's the safer at home order and the declaration of emergency are not the same thing.
Correct.
I think what you saw with the declaration of emergency, the extension of that, Dane County, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that in other places, is really to allow more so for tracking for FEMA purposes.
Yes.
So in that, they're not the same thing. But maybe I'll let. There's been no decision, obviously, but maybe I'll let Ken or Darcy kind of speak to what their best guess is to how this might shake out in a post Supreme Court decision world.
So I can just speak from a public health perspective. We have been, the health officers across Milwaukee County have been collaborating extensively through this process to make sure that we're, information sharing and working together. We know that in a place like Milwaukee County, people are crossing borders all of the time. So we have many shared cases and families who live, in different municipalities that are being impacted. So there's a high level of collaboration. We have started the process of talking about, and thinking through what a plan might look like if safer at home is altered or overturned. At this point, we do still feel that it's necessary to have some measures in place to protect residents because we are still seeing disease spread. But until we have the specifics of the Supreme Court decision, it's hard to know what we might be able to do or what we will do. But we are definitely thinking about it. And I would expect that we'll see some level of protection still in place, but they will likely be different than what we have right now.
And Clint, that's something we talk about at our 3 times a week emergency operations meeting. I suspect that once we get the decision from the state, that'll be a major topic of discussion either today or on Wednesday.
Okay.
Clint, is there something that we should be doing, I guess, when we are free to kind of open up to help support your industry? I mean, is there a message that we get out regarding, how you're cleaning the facilities or, I guess what can we do? Because a large part of, what we do is, promote tourism. So what do you think that looks like?
Well, I think the American Hotel Lodging Association and every single hotel brand is doing a very good job as far as marketing that and pushing that message out to all their loyalty members and everything. American Hotel Lodging Association is basically developing an all-encompassing cleaning program that most brands will likely adopt, and they'll push that out to many different media outlets. So I think we're okay as far as that's concerned. That is the toughest thing for the hotel industry right now, because you can't really put it out there yet. There's a lot of people that are still uncomfortable, even if this were to open back up. Yeah, so I think from this perspective, from this organization, I honestly don't think there's much right away that we can do. Other than say, we're open, or, I think a lot of it will most likely would be geared mostly towards, some of the restaurants in the community, really. I think that's, getting that message out quickly to the local community that the restaurants are open for business. But as far as a hotel perspective, there's not a whole lot right now that we can really do. That's the toughest part. We're in a real big holding pattern.
All right, well, just know we're here to support you guys. So if you think of ideas further along the road, please let us know collectively as a group.
For sure. Any other COVID-19 updates or any other questions from anyone?
Darcy, since you have so many statistics there, of the 11 deaths, do you have the average age?
I don't have the average age. I can tell you that, like we're seeing across the country and the globe, we have the highest number of cases between the ages of 50 and 70 in Oak Creek. And I would say the majority of deaths have been towards the higher end of the range, but I don't have the actual average age right here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll move on to the small business gift card program.
Thanks, Darcy. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. I'm going to jump off.
All right, so next, just going to talk about what we are doing to assist the small businesses in Oak Creek affected by the coronavirus. And Corey, Matt, Sarah, feel free to jump in on this topic. But we'll be starting a small business gift card initiative, which will begin today, where we will be purchasing gift cards and giving them away to the public. We'll also be running a social media campaign with this and encourage people to nominate someone doing good in the community. And we are going to randomly select people and send them a gift card with a branded thank you card. So we have promoted a few feel-good stories on social media, such as Eater Flag, making masks, and we will continue to do that. And in this packet, I included a letter that will be going out to the businesses. So we'll be contacting them, asking them for gift cards. And once we collect that, we'll be looking at different ways to distribute that to the community. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, we're just looking for a way to support the restaurants and also the small local businesses in Oak Creek.
Doug, if you could talk to the budget that's set aside for this and just let everybody know what kind of the backstory is, why the program is twofold.
Absolutely. And Kristen mentioned, randomly selecting people for gift cards. I mean, this is a big bulk purchase this is $20,000 worth of gift cards. And the way this unfolded is, there's lots of ways that other communities are helping their small businesses. And a lot of them have, micro loan programs, or low interest or forgivable loans. And, we unfortunately don't have the infrastructure set up for that. And not that we're not interested in doing that, and we are, but just the mechanics of establishing something like that put us well in, several months probably down the road. And we didn't feel that was appropriate to wait that long. So thinking about what our mission was, certainly we wanted to support our small businesses, but at the same time, we just didn't want to say, here's a check. We kind of wanted to leverage that towards getting additional business into their establishment. So the thinking was, there's great stories of people doing wonderful things in the community now, whether it's, the poll workers who not volunteered, but worked in the election, some pretty daunting circumstances, first responders, whether it's, people who are checking in on their neighbors and buying groceries for them, or even if it's the school kids, writing positive messages in chalk on the driveway. There's some great things that are happening. We'd like to really reward that and say thank you during the time. And that's why we really wanted to leverage that program so that we can, A, help the small businesses first and foremost, but B, really encourage that positive behavior and reward that positive behavior, and acknowledge the great things that are happening in our community. So that was really the backbone of that, and it kind of evolved into that. And there's another program I'll talk about after we finish this one. I don't want to mix those two up, but essentially that's it. We're going to contact non-franchised restaurants and personal services establishments, and Chris and Sarah are going to start that today. And to the extent that folks can offer a gift card of about $20 or so, and again, it's $20,000. So what we envision is buying, $300 in gift cards from restaurants, $100 in personal services firms, have those as a stockpile that we can use for kind of those rewards or for other purposes. And one other thing that I thought, and we thought collectively might be a good idea too, is to make some of those available to service organizations like the Salvation Army or Interfaith. So if there are people who are struggling and need, who could use a restaurant gift card, it's not going to, solve the problem, but it's just a kind of acknowledgement that, people might need that at this point in time. So that, in a nutshell, is the program, without getting into too much detail about that. Excited about that. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible, acknowledging that, we don't have the bandwidth internally right now to run a micro loan program or something of that nature. We thought that this is the best way of pushing out some assistance in the community quickly, and something that will be more impactful and encourages additional spend at these businesses. Anyone else want to add to that or comment on that? That's, from my perspective, that's I'm glad that we were able to at least do something. It's not a lot, we should do more, but it's what we can do.
I chime in with the current part.
Absolutely, yeah.
So another small portion of that budget was set aside to provide 1/6 of a page free advertising for the current magazine. So we started out with our business list and pretty much handed it over to our publisher and told her to, find people that she's either reached out to before that couldn't afford an ad, or something, other businesses, just to give them an opportunity that they might not have had before to advertise. So she's gotten great response on that. I think at last check, she had gotten 25 ads already set aside for that. And then I think she was working on 5 more, and she's cutting us a pretty good deal on the normal price of those to get that filled up. So she knows that trying to sell ads for this issue is going to be a struggle anyway, because everybody's feeling the crunch. So we thought that was a nice way of giving people a chance to, get their business, give them a little more exposure than they might normally have. So.
Hey, Kristen, Corey here. I'll be real brief too. Is the first the process of it all coming together, from Leslie to Doug to Sarah to everybody that was involved, has been extremely fast, and it's been incredibly enlightening to see a city do what they're doing. The web portion is the launch today, where people can actually recommend or quote unquote nominate somebody for a gift card. Is we also plan on capturing the full story for the city to have on what the city did during this crisis to help their small businesses too. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that. Of course, it's going to be all virtually based, but I'd be foolish not to say how honored, I guess, we were too to participate in this. And it's very unique, and I have not seen another city do it. So I just wanted to commend the city on thinking outside the box in order to get this done. So we're very excited. There is detail in the thing that Kristen sent out on the letter that goes out. also just what the program is. It's very enlightening, happy, has a cool visual to it too. So my thanks to on that committee that worked really hard to get this.
Cool branding down here.
Well, I personally am very proud of the work you've done. I think that it's awesome to leverage, you know, business gift certificates out to the community. And I know there's no perfect way to distribute those funds. So I know we're in good hands with you guys kind of figuring that piece out. I was wondering, Leslie, have you like leveraged or thought about leveraging like the microloans that are available in the community to like help inform the businesses, because sometimes they just don't know what is available. And I know with like WIBIC, there's those Kiva loans that people can apply for, or there's still funding right now for that Paycheck Protection Program. Like, is there a way that we could share that information with the businesses to see if that might help them during this time?
Yeah, actually, we have on our landing page for the city, we have a list of those resources. Obviously, I mean, we you know, we're not agile enough to kind of help them through that process at this point in time. But as far as a list of resources, we put a pretty, I don't want to say exhaustive one out there, but trying to make those resources available. And I know I shared a few things with Sarah at the chamber as well. So trying to get that out there to folks. I know it's still a daunting task for folks to kind of apply for those, and given the timing and the bureaucracy of it all. But you know, we did make that known to them. Actually, WEDC and WIDA, the trade organization, have some really good resource pages for small businesses to help them navigate through that. So we did kind of, Kim, and as we move forward on this, I mean, it really kind of expose a kind of glaring weakness on the part of the city. I mean, we really do need to think more in terms about how we can be a better resource for our small businesses in terms of those microloans and things of that nature. So as we move forward, I think we're going to be really seriously looking at, you know, establishing relationships with our local financial community for microloan programs or revolving loans and things of that nature. Just we just didn't have the bandwidth to do it right now.
Awesome.
Remember, go ahead.
I just know from my perspective in the financial industry that some businesses didn't anticipate it going this long. And so initially they didn't apply for things. And I feel like there's still a portion that were confused or didn't take advantage that could. So any way we could, maybe they're not always going to the city website for that, but I know we do some great boosts on social media, you know, in ways that might catch somebody that is, you know, under pressure to help, you know, save their business. Anything that we could do to be informative, I think is helpful.
Absolutely. And the chamber has done a weekly COVID-19 response newsletter, which always has the financial resources and loan links and updates to webinars from WEC or MMAC. So we tried to keep as up to date. I was updating it almost 3 times a week, 4 times a week in the beginning. The second round of PPP loans is still available. Funding is still available. Just a little bit left though. So we saw most of our businesses looking to that second wave of funding once they realized that that first wave was gone. So we're going to continue to provide them those resources. So if anybody wants to sign up for the Chamber's special newsletter, that is on our website. You can sign up at any time.
Awesome.
Hey, Doug or Kristen, can you give me a feel for what kind of business? Do you have a roster of businesses you actually intend on buying these from, or what are you thinking there?
We do. Primarily, first and foremost, Ken, it's for the non-franchised restaurants. There's probably what we say about 30 or 40 of those.
That's right.
And then we expanded that to include the personal service firms like the hair salons, the dog grooming places, what else? Some of the health and fitness, which there were probably around 70 or 80 of those.
Like 82.
Okay. Are you? I saw in the in the material in the packet that we potentially would, is there any interest actually from these businesses that they offered to match, or is that something we're pondering? That would strike me as maybe counterintuitive, but in terms
Well,
of.
we're starting to make those contacts today. And if not, and I think it was a good point as this evolved, we're not going to say, hey, if you want to participate, you have to kind of give a gift card bonus, because you're right, that's the wrong message at this point in time. But recognizing that the goal of this is to increase spend into their business. I mean, if they've got a program, and some do that, if you buy $100 in gift cards, you get a bonus $20, something like that. I mean, we're not going to, if you don't have that, we're not going to exclude you from that program. But if there's an opportunity to leverage that to get more people into your doors, I mean, we'd certainly love to try and partner with them on that.
Okay.
All right. On to 2020 community events.
I can take this one. So we had a conference call earlier this month with Darcy, and it was recommended that we cancel our events for the month of June. We do have a food truck tour and an outdoor movie night at the end of June, which we could look at scheduling for later in the year. At this time, I don't think we'd be able to run the beer garden and summer solstice event. The farmers market is different, which I'll get to in the next agenda item. That one we'd look to continue. But just because of the current situation, the procedures we'd have to put in place, I think it would be difficult at this time to continue the events we have for the month of June. So it was recommended that we remove those from the calendar and look to reschedule if we can. But if anyone has any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer any recommendations, things like that.
One question I have is, the money we're operating off of, is that from 2019 taxes?
Is it from this year, Doug, or is it?
I asked Bridget that question, and I never really got a good answer to that. I mean, certainly the fund, and it's a fund balance. So it's not like the money goes away at the end of the year. I mean, yeah. But the fund balance certainly is supported by revenue from last year. And I think we all recognize that this year is going to be when this is all over, I think that I want to throw out a few words from our vocabulary: challenging, pivot, and flattening the curve. But I mean, I think you can expect that the revenues for this, I mean, based on what Clint has affirmed, I mean, the revenues for hotel, motel in the city of Oak Creek and nationwide and worldwide, it's going to be, I've read projections that occupancy is projected for the remainder of the year at 39%, and average daily rates are down probably 20%. So, just do that math, and you can see that the revenue that's going to be available coming out of the Tourism Commission is going to be severely impacted. And we don't have those numbers yet, but we'll have to develop a strategy around that once we do, kind of figure out what we anticipate those to be.
Anytime you want updates from me, you let me know. I just wanted to make sure and see if we were going to have to adjust. I mean, some of this, our spending is obviously being adjusted for us with canceling of some of these events, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't have to adjust in the year for the year due to the lack of funds that will be coming from the hotels.
Yeah, I think we do have some fund balance, and I'll talk to our finance director about that, but I think that okay. Certainly, I mean, will have a cascading effect as we run our events for this year and probably even 21.
Yep.
Can I ask a couple questions? Is there a way to open up the farmers market to more Oak Creek business participation since they're struggling? Like, since that event might continue, like to have more booth space for them to like advertise themselves, or like at no cost to, participate where they might not have participated in the past?
I think that might be tricky, just because the premise under which the farmers market is opening is that it is a scaled down, very limited, very minimizing contact, minimizing vendors, maximizing space. I think that if we did that, we'd be in jeopardy of risking that it would not even be able to open. I think that the only reason it's being allowed to open is that it is very minimal in terms of its contact. I mean, not to say that as we start to turn, again, here's another one we're going to get rid of. As we start to turn the dial back to normal again, I mean, it's not to say that we couldn't try and incorporate those things, but at this point in time, I think it's probably too much too soon. That's just my opinion.
Yep. Okay, that sounds good. But maybe we just keep that in mind as we can open up a little bit. That might be a nice way to also support the businesses in our area.
Yep.
And then just an idea, I guess, have we maybe talked with Marcus Movie Theaters about maybe working with them to do like an outdoor movie night in their parking lot? I know there's, great quality LED screens and you can tune in from your car radio. We might be able to take some precautionary measures and cleaning bathrooms while people are there. I mean, what about doing something like that? I just feel like people are, really wanting to feel more normal. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to support that.
I think that's a great idea. If we can do that safely and work out the logistics on that, I think that'd be a great idea.
I just wanted to note before you move on, the chamber was supposed to have an event in August called Chamber Fest, where our members were the vendors. So we are still looking to see if that event is even on the docket for this year, but that might be something where we could team up with the Tourism Commission to do a little bit of different Chamber Fest than we were anticipating. Just another thought to really get our small business in the spotlight.
Awesome. Thanks for reminding us of that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of talked about it, but on to Oak Creek Farmers Market.
So farmers market is still scheduled to begin Saturday, June 6th, and it'll run each Saturday through October 24th, except for the 4th of July, which is on a Saturday this year. Dawn and myself are working closely with the health department on procedures we can put in place. We're looking at having hand sanitizing stations throughout the square, and the booths will be spread further apart just to keep the 6 feet of social distancing. And I know Dawn is also looking at implementing an online pickup. I'm not sure of the exact logistics on that, but she is working on that, where residents could order online 24 hours beforehand, and then the vendors would come with their prepackaged items, and then one of the farmers market members would then run that out to their car. And we'd be looking at closing down Main Street, I believe, just so it doesn't block any traffic for that. But yeah, we're looking to still continue that. But like Doug said, it'll be very scaled down from what it was last year. I don't think we'll have as many activities happening in the square, such as like music and kid-friendly type activities, but maybe later in the year as the farmers market goes on.
Is there a way to help the community during the farmers market for families that are in need to kind of increase the amount that we give to them while still helping the farmers?
I do know we're running the SNAP and WIC program again this year, where fruits and vegetables can be purchased at the market. And I know Dawn is doing some type of match program where if they purchase $5 in fruits and vegetables, we'll match that and they'll get another $5 to use within the market. But we could definitely look at some other programs too.
Sounds good. Corey, I have a question for you. What do you think about the Democratic Convention, whether it's going to be held or not? And if it's not going to be held, or there's not going to be as many people as we anticipate, what message on the ad space that we can't like retract are we going to leverage?
So 2 things. One, I think there'll be more information coming out this week towards it, and Clint might know on this too, is I have a weekly call with Visit Milwaukee, and we have other communities that we work with. There's 2 big things: is whether or not we're going to have State Fair, which would be the first of the crippling effects, and then the second one would be the DNC and potentially go into virtual. So I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to give you a hypothesis, but pushing it back, you're going to see a massive amount of people that were planning on coming not come, just from a safety and security standpoint. From a media standpoint, we acted super fast in March when we heard that this was coming and reallocated the bookings to when they said the DNC was going to come. A lot of those are non-refundable deposited contracts, but everything is on the table these days. Is no such thing as a true contract anymore. So if it doesn't happen, we'll hopefully be able to get our inventory back, at least at a percentage. We've been in those conversations with Clear Channel, especially for the airport stuff. But we are the featured advertiser in the airport if the DNC does happen. So we're in very, very good shape from the city of Oak Creek standpoint. And a lot of our media buys were flexible. The one that wasn't was a radio one, which Kristen's on top of, working with ESPN radio and some other stuff too. So it's just so fluid. I mean, we've been staying so far ahead of everything to try to make sure that Oak Creek was positioned properly. So I feel really good where we are, but this is such a fluid thing. I mean, if you saw the data that came out today, 19 was the best year ever for hospitality in Milwaukee, and 20 was supposed to be way higher than that. It's going to be the worst one ever. So I feel for you, Clint. I really do. It's just, you have to almost look day by day at what's going to happen, because all the people that were coming to stay with us for the DNC are no longer coming. And that's just a small snapshot. But people are just not willing to travel to big metropolises unless they have to.
Yeah. So from a hotel perspective, all the blocks were transferred over directly to those dates in August at full 100% of what they were originally. However, we do have blocks held in other communities that we have hotels. And we have seen some of those blocks for agencies such as the FBI or news organizations either cancel or greatly reduce. So just like Corey said, we have no idea. My personal opinion is it's at least, if it does happen, it's going to be greatly reduced. It is not going to nearly be the impact it was going to be. But like you said, Corey, I mean, this is just every day we read every single thing we can. We try to get whatever indicators we can. And it's just so up in the air right now. I
can tell you that other communities have already. So the original question, Clint, that you had towards how the hotel tax dollars are used is I've contacted Megan and Peggy at Visit is it's actually the year, it's based on the year that you're in on hotel tax, but for Oak Creek having the balance is it does not go away on a fiscal calendar year. So Oak Creek's in like the best position they can be.
Yeah.
Other communities, and I can't name who they are already feeling the effects of not having these tax dollars, that their commissions are being hit very, very, very hard. To the point of, how do you staff things like a farmer's market? How do you I mean, advertising's out the window. Is a lot of them are feeling the effects. I could see that happening in 21 for Oak Creek, and why we need to be really flexible, adaptable, and think outside the box, which is why I commended when Doug brought to the attention of this thank you thing too, is you need to stay on the map for when people do want to go spend that money again. And economists are saying midway through 21, fall of 21, best case scenario too is, I feel really good about where Oak Creek is versus other communities, to be completely frank and honest. It's not looking good in other communities at all.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing and seen the same data. All right, let's see. I think that's it for today. So I guess we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Ritzel, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, have a great day, everyone.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone, bye.
See ya.
To pick up your books today.